Chris. We'll start with your first question. How do you balance creating comics with other aspects of your life, given the challenges of making a living as an indie creator in Australia?
Okay. Excellent question. And the first aspect of that question presupposes that I actually have some sort of life, which of course, because I'm a comics tragic, I have no life, right? I mean, look, basically for me, I started doing this stuff at a very young age, and I'm still in the same mental space as when I started drawing comics on the kitchen table with my brothers on photocopy paper.
Yep.
And putting a couple of staples in them ourselves. And that is, I love comics. I love the art form.
Yep.
My tastes have grown in sophistication, he said, and diversity over the years.
Yep.
But I love the art form. I love expressing myself in that art form. And I would do it even if I didn't get paid. Now, I've done different comic book gigs of different levels of remuneration. I worked once with the great Chris Wall, also in New South Wales, on probably one of the best paid comic jobs of my life for the Australian Defence Department.
Oh, wow.
For a top secret limited edition comic book they used as part of a training exercise.
Wow.
That was a very special job.
Yep.
And I got to work with one of the greatest artists in the country, and that's unusual to get that kind of a rate.
Yeah.
But I would have done that gig for a lot less because, you know, it's Chris Wall. And it was a really interesting topic we got to work on. You know, so I've always managed my life so that if the comics, but also, as you know, Shane, I also do books, I do prose, I do anthologies, I do various things. So I've always managed my life so if the comics work was a bit slow or not, you know, I've always had other income. Yeah. You know, I do other things. One of my secret identities is I'm a specialist in what's known as procurement, tenders and contracts. I'm an expert in that, and I do senior level work in that. And it sounds boring as hell, but it's actually totally fascinating. I stumbled into it 25 years ago.
Contracts, you say?
Yeah.
So I come to you for some help later.
Well, yeah. Look, I know my way around a contract and the principles of contracting and stuff, and that keeps me busy a huge amount of my week. I love it. So actually, and it's funny you asked this question because we had a couple of people at the table yesterday wanting advice of how do you start out?
Oh, okay.
And the thing I said to them all was, whether you're writing novels or short stories or drawing comics or, you know, creating, you know, digital art or whatever, get yourself in a comfortable place where you've got some form of income.
Yep.
And that way, you're never like the cliche of the unhappy musician, the guitar player, who writes these freaking beautiful songs and he's waiting for that breakthrough to get that record deal, which never comes because that's in a ridiculously competitive industry and involves luck as much as anything else. You don't want to be the guy that just gives it all up out of despair. You want to be the guy who never has to give it up because he's kept it as a joyful thing that you don't need the breakthrough, top-level success to pay the bills.
Yeah.
Either he does other kind of musical stuff that is more modest and less original stuff, or whatever, you know. So whether it's related to your obsession, you know, the drawing, whether you make your money on advertising art rather than comics art, or whether you write copy for marketing or whatever, and then do your other writing, whatever it is, find a way to balance, and that way, if the overtly creative stuff takes off, you're laughing. Then you can seize that advantage and give that a go and see if you can make it full time. So that's the best thing, because like acting, music, writing, the amount of people who make a professional working wage in this country, United States, UK, is a much smaller proportion than the number of people working in it. Plenty of people are working in it and only making a part-time or a gig level wage.
Yep.
So free yourself from making it life or death to just protecting that beautiful obsession.
Yeah, nice. I like that. Cool. Thanks, Chris. Okay. How has digital distribution impacted the way you create and market your comics?
It's continuing to evolve. Simply put, there are extra channels now.
Yep.
And the channels work in different ways. The fascinating thing about the stuff I'm doing with Gerry Huntman at IPI Comics and IFWG Publishing is we're just starting to actually realise and appreciate you can use the digital channels, not just to publish, like the IPI Comics stuff is on globalcomics.com, right? So not just the publishing, but we're starting to really get hip to, you can use one channel to cross-promote to another. You can actually use the digital channels and internet-based marketing and selling to enhance your physical print sales copies. And I won't get into it because it's pretty dry stuff, but we had a couple of breakthrough thoughts about this.
That's awesome.
So it's more than the obvious, it's an extra bandwidth of sales. It's more than that.
It's more than that, yeah. Like we're finding it's a very good marketing tool as well.
It's an extremely good marketing tool, and you just have to figure, okay, how do I take that channel that shouldn't connect up with print or shouldn't connect up with direct things like print to order or various different, because we've got bookstore channels, we've got comic shop channels, we do direct things at conventions. So figuring out there's a different approach to all those customer groups. They get their information and they compare notes and talk and look at reviews in different ways.
Yep.
So thinking about that is really useful. And once you sort of go, okay, how can I weave one into the other? Really interesting things can develop out of that.
Yeah, of course. Cool, thanks. That's a good answer. Okay. Here we go. Can you share a memorable interaction with a fan that stood out to you? Yeah.
A memorable interaction with a fan. It's really obscure.
That's okay.
But I'll tell it because it's just a real oddity. One of the things that I do in my writing, and I've done it for decades, is I'm obsessed with Sherlock Holmes, right? And I've been a member of a thing called the Sydney Passengers, the Australian Sherlock Holmes Society, for decades.
Oh, wow.
And we sort of meet 3 or 4 times a year and have lunch or dinner and talk about the Sherlock Holmes stories as if they were real, which of course they were.
Of course.
And the worldwide brotherhood, sisterhood, fraternity of siblinghood of Sherlock Holmes societies, we're all into that and we connect with various people. And my club publishes a little journal every 3 or 4 months. And so I've written articles over the years that have been published in that journal, which really only gets to our club members, plus we get overseas subscriptions, particularly from the other societies.
Yep.
Right? And I had a convention and a young lady came up to me and said, I've got a photocopy of your article you wrote for the Sydney Passengers Log on Jack the Ripper. Would you sign it for me?
No way.
And I thought, how the hell did you get that? And where did you, and she it was, sure enough, it was an article that I wrote. And I'm very proud of that article. It had a massive amount of research in it. And it's actually been written up in a few overseas books as being a significant contribution to Sherlock Holmes' lore. But that was cool, and that she found that particular thing, and we chatted about it. And then wherever she got it from, over the next couple of years, I found people in funny places must have seen it too. I remember talking to a lawyer in the States about something, and he said, I'll do that job for you for free if you can get me a copy of your article on the Ripper.
No way.
And I go, how did you hear about it?
That's cool.
It's a strange little piece in an obscure subcategory of my writing.
Yeah.
That clearly has just clicked with some people big time. So that's fun. Yeah, that's really a lovely
cool.
sort of thing. And then that woman who was in Australia I'm Facebook friends with her to see her, and her and her brother once met me and my wife for a drink, and we actually happened to be in Las Vegas of all things at the same time. Yeah, and consider her a friend. Yeah, it's lovely. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Wow, that's quite. Yeah, wow. Well, that's our interview. Thank you very much, Chris.
My pleasure. You enjoy the rest of the convention, guys.
Oh, yeah, of course. And this is Sizz from ComX, and we were talking to Chris Sequeira, and this is the 3Q interview. I forgot the name of it.
That's right.
This is good? Okay. So our first question.
Yep.
What advice would you give an aspiring comic creator in Australia looking to break into the industry?
Okay, I think of it on a number of levels.
Yep.
The first thing is that you've got to build up your skill level. Mm-hmm. So that means people want to use you, right? Use your career. And so therefore it's about practice, it's about interacting with other creators, getting feedback, all of that sort of thing. And I would say the same thing to book writers or anyone else.
Yep.
In fact, I think it applies to everyone.
Everything, yeah, when you think about it.
But Australia is a small country.
Yeah.
And so therefore it's always hard to break into pro or to be able to make a living as a self-publisher. The best thing I can really say is really understand the industry, get to know people. And I would also look at companies like ours.
Yep.
We are mostly selling our stuff in the US.
Yep.
and also around the world through the US. But 80% of our content is produced by Australians.
Yes.
So talk to people like us, but also talk to others that do the same thing.
Yep.
So that'd be my answer. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Second question. How has digital distribution... Oh, I thought you had another question there, sorry. How has digital distribution impacted the way you create and market your comics?
As a business, we want to make as much money as we can. Yeah. And I don't mean in a greedy Elon Musk sort of way, but I mean, what I mean is that everything costs, so you need to have rolling income. So in other words, the way we handle it is through what we call multi-channeling.
Yep.
And in the case of books, we do it, but also in comics, is that, for example, with comics, we print comics in Canada, it's distributed through Lunar and Diamond, it goes around the world, but soon after the releases, we then use another distributor of ours to go through Global Comics, for example. Yep. So therefore, we're not letting go of that channel. So it's a really simple thing. Ebook people like ebooks or e-comics.
Yep.
We supply.
Yes. Totally understand. Yep. Cool. And last question. Yes, this is a good one. How do you balance creating comics with other aspects of your life, given the challenges of making a living as an indie creator in Australia?
Okay. I can give you two answers. The before and now. for a long, long time, I was a publisher of books, not comics, and like 15 years. And for much of that time, I held a day job. I'm also a writer as well. I don't just publish, I also write. I tend not to publish my own stuff. Sometimes I will, but most of the time I don't. And so therefore there was a lot of hats I was wearing. I'm just lucky. Due to my personal circumstances, there's also the company having grown enough, and now going into comics as well. I now am full-time writer and publisher, and I've been like that for 3-4 years. And that makes it easier. However, the irony is that as a creator, as a writer, I'm finding that running my own business, and it's complex because I'm doing commerce in different countries. And, crazy. Crazy. Canada, this, that, and the other. And what I'm finding is that sometimes my creative urge gets sort of squished with time. So I've got to find ways to balance that. So that's the balance for me. But to be fair, many other people will have the challenge of balancing between a day job and then running the things that they really like. And I get that, and it's tough.
Cool. Well, this has been Sizz from ComX, and we've been talking to Gerry Huntman, and these were the 3Q interview.
My name's Rowan Adams. I have Madville and Comics. I used to be in the Air Force and discharged, and then after that I was like, all right, well, it's time to invest in your passions, and I've always loved comics, so I try and buy from the US and ship over here and offer things that you don't normally see other sellers offering. And it's all just people helping people, you know? Just if we can get you something that brings you that little bit of joy from your childhood, that's what it's all about. So that's what we do here. And we primarily sell on Facebook, Instagram, eBay. Mainly, it was in the middle of COVID, so a physical store wasn't really an option. And we've got a really good network of people now, and that's kind of what we do.
Did you say Nunda?
Yeah, Nunda, so nice and local, local Brisbane. We also do Sydney, Gold Coast and Brisbane Supanovas. And we're really big online. That's kind of our bread and butter sort of thing. We do live sales in the US as well on Instagram. And just looking at new ways of reaching out to people and networking and getting I've got a 4-year-old daughter, so if we can get young kids as well, sort of, I feel like superheroes have really good building blocks for core values. It's people helping the less fortunate. If someone is under threat by a villain or something like that, then the good guy swoops in and helps out and does the right thing. And that's really good for kids to sort of learn from a young age as well. So.
How do you approach collaboration in your comic projects, and what makes it for a successful creative partnership?
I tell you, I love collaborating. I think it's one of the best things in a creative experience is being able to bounce ideas off people. So I have to mention my mate Stephen. I collaborate a lot of the times with him in regards to writing and creating new projects. But that introduction of creating a relationship with either an artist over a long period of time or another writer or something like that has always been really exciting. Doesn't always work.
I understand that.
Which sometimes can be part of the pitfalls of doing your own creative business. But no,
it teaches you things. Yeah, we'll go with that.
It does. It teaches you things.
We'll go with that.
100%. I think the collaborative process brings out a better product.
Yes.
And that's not to say someone that does it all themselves isn't amazing. I can't draw, so I can't do it all myself.
I'm the same.
So I'm forced to collaborate, type of thing. So as much as I say I love collaborating, I'm forced to do it because I just can't do everything myself. So,
Cool. Good answer.
Thank you.
Okay, what do we got here? We've got, how has the rise of digital platforms impacted the indie comic scene in Australia?
Yeah, this is an interesting one because like we've had like digital platforms come and go over the last 10 years that I've been in the industry. So you've had kind of the rise and fall of Comixology. You've had NFT comics like kind of start to come out and then kind of that was in and out and a splash of a pan type of thing. But for me, I've always felt, very comfortable in providing all of my comics in PDF or digital formats. I think from my own point of view, the ability to get as many people to read my stuff as possible is a great idea, and that means whether they do it on a PDF, they do it on a physical book or whatever. But a lot of people worry about that copyright side of things, and I'm like, well, if you're making enough money to worry about copyright, then you shouldn't. Yeah, what are you worried about? 100%. So, it's really interesting. I think there's another digital platform that's come out recently, or not recently, but a while, which is Global ComX, and that seems to be really picking up steam.
Didn't get DC recently.
I don't know, maybe, but they've got IDW, they've got Boom, they've got Image.
They've got DC right now.
Oh, they do.
And I'm pretty sure it's just recent.
Okay.
Yeah.
So which is massive, type of thing. So and then to be able to be on that same platform and to be competing against those type of people is kind of great from an indie point of view. So for me, I don't think it's affected the Australian scene as much. I think if anything, it's kind of opened a few more doors for us, and I'm a bit of a comic book whore in regards to like I want to put my stuff in as many places as possible. So whether that's in stores, online, all that type of stuff, and so I think that's the great thing about it.
Yeah, I honestly thought you were going to go for Kickstarter because that's a digital platform.
Yeah, well, that's the boring answer, isn't it?
That's the boring answer.
So people have heard me talk about Kickstarter enough. So, well, I guess, from a crowdfunding point of view, it's really weird to see how many other crowdfunding platforms have come up.
Yeah,
and especially,
so many of them.
Yeah, especially in the comic and publishing scene. You've got Zoop now, you've got Crowdfunder, you've got Kickstarter, you've got Indiegogo. So I feel that has kind of maybe diluted the audience a little bit, just because there's more places in regards to be able to get stuff. But again, I think if you can get your book into as many places as possible, it's a good thing. And I have noticed a lot more people doing, say, a $500 campaign here, a $500 campaign here, and a $500 campaign here, and have been able to raise $3,000 where they've struggled to raise $3,000 on, say, one platform.
Just one platform.
So, yeah.
Sorry, back to the questions. You give me ideas. Okay. How do you handle the business side of being an indie comic creator, such as marketing and financial management?
Oh, that is a hard one because I guess for me, as I said before, can't draw, so a lot of that collaboration is making sure I pay all the creators that I work with, so that includes writing at points, pencils, colours, letters, then your editor, your printer, that can be quite expensive, but it is really about knowing your numbers back to front.
Yep.
So understanding how much it costs to print, how much it costs to do an issue, and then if you're going to go down the crowdfunding point of view, how much you need to make back.
Yep.
And then on top of that, your own time. So what are you worth and all that type of stuff.
So true.
Sometimes some projects will make you a bit of money, some projects you'll lose money on, so then it's about finding that balance as well. So the marketing side I always find a little bit harder because it's so much time. And when you're time poor, I've got a couple of young kids. I went back to uni this year and I work. That marketing side, has really taken a hit because I just don't have the time to do it, and I really don't want to be sitting on my phone doing marketing when I've only got an hour to kind of do something that releases my stress or whatever. So But I think if you've got a team behind you, so again, going back to that collaboration, if you've got a small business, if you're able to get those people that are in the projects to do, some of that marketing, that sharing, all that type of stuff, that always goes a long way in regards to helping from that point of view. But that business finance side, I think from a creative point of view, people go, well, I'm a creator, I'm not a business guy. Well, if you're in this industry, no matter what you are, whether you're a penciler, you are your own business. So you need to understand those figures, your time, how much it costs you to do stuff, if you're using materials or programs, if you're a digital artist, what is that costing you and everything, and factor that into all your pricing and everything. So, look, I've learned the hard way.
I'm learning the hard way as we speak.
Making plenty of losses before, really understanding that finance side of things. And that's, doing spreadsheets, understanding your profit and loss, all that type of stuff that comes with being an actual business. So,
So true. Well, thank you very much, Shaun. This has been Sizz from ComX, and we've been speaking to Shaun Keenan here. And he's just performed the 3Q interview. How do you approach collaboration in your comic projects, and what makes for a successful creative partnership?
Okay, well, I get to work with some of the absolutely amazing artists, some of the best artists in Australia. It's fantastic. Initially, when I started, I was doing conventions, so I actually walk around Artist Alley and meet a lot of artists that way. That's how I started. Obviously, I've been doing this for 14 years now, so a lot of the artists know me. Quite a few of them approach me, asking, they've seen the comics, they've seen how high quality they are, and they'd just love to be a part of it. The appealing part is because it's mostly short stories, it's not a big commitment, so they can just do and I'll often I'll check with the artists, hey, what do you like drawing? What do you want to... And I can actually tailor a story to what they like to draw. So I'll tailor it to their strengths. So I've got one artist at the moment. I'm not super keen on how he draws people, but he's an amazing artist at drawing like dinosaurs, aliens and all that. So I've written a story just with dinosaurs and aliens.
Oh, cool.
And he's just brought the original artwork in yesterday. It's absolutely amazing. So that'll be in the next issue of Retro. So when you do that kind of collaboration, hey, what do you like to draw? And I can write something for that.
That's really cool.
Other times, obviously, I've written a script first, and then I'm trying to find someone. So then I'll look for an artist whose style suits what I'm after for that, what I have in my mind as how the comic should be done. And but basically, when you, as a writer, seeing what the artists do when they bring your story to life, it's so rewarding and amazing. And like I said, I'm just so incredibly lucky to have so many, well over 200 creators I've worked with in the last 14 years.
That's phenomenal.
It's brilliant.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, number 2. How has the rise of crowdfunding platforms like Kickstarter changed the landscape for indie comic creators?
It's absolutely amazing. So
I would agree with that, actually.
Originally I always just did it the hard way. I would get my comics printed, have to pay a fortune to the printers, and then spend the next few months or years trying to sell them and recoup that money. It was only when I actually did the very last issue of DK, issue 24, that I did my first Kickstarter. So I did 23 issues before that, just paying the printers and then trying to get the money back. So with the Kickstarter, aside from having all the pre-orders, which basically cover the sales, you've also got a wider audience. So I'm selling them around the world now. So with my last Kickstarter, a third of the orders were to Australia, a third were to America, and a third to the rest of the world. So basically, it's two-thirds of the orders were going to around the world. So that's despite the insane postage costs as well. So it's made it easier to reach more people. And get the advance orders to basically cover the printing costs.
Definitely. I agree with that a lot, actually. Cool. It's made a big difference to what ComX does as well.
Absolutely,
What do you enjoy most about the creative process of making comics?
It's pretty much similar to the first question, I guess, in that just getting to work with so many amazing artists and seeing them bring your story to life. I have so many story ideas, I can't write them down fast enough. I'm actually getting slower. Maybe I'm trying to be too much of a perfectionist, but sometimes you just have to okay, I've got to get this story done. Every now and then an artist will say, hey, I've got a window of time, I can draw that story we were talking about, so then I've got to, okay. I'm really bad for actually sending just part of the script as well, so that they can get started. There's the first couple of pages, start drawing out while I keep writing the next pages. It's not an ideal way to work, but I will tell them the general outline of the story so they know where it's going.
So where it's going, of course.
So they're not getting trapped or something like that. But it's just absolutely brilliant. I've been doing this for 14 years. It's leaving a legacy. Every now and then you get new fans coming and discovering your work. You make a bit of a name. I'm a guest now with the conventions at Supanova here, and it's just, and on top of all that, aside from making the comics themselves are very tough. Independent comics are really tough too, but they do sometimes lead to other work. So we've done this work with the movies now.
Yeah, I saw all that.
Yeah, so I was commissioned to make Australia's first ever comic book movie adaptations. The 4 Ozploitation classics for Umbrella Entertainment. And then on top of that, we've done this work for the movie Sting. We've actually got comic artwork in the movie. And that was just amazing. That was working with Ben Sullivan from Melbourne. So I've known the producers for a while, so when they had this movie come up, they contacted me, said, hey, look, we need some artwork. Can you get one of your artists? So I talked to the producers about what they needed. Then it was pretty easy actually to choose Ben because he's done so much work in my comic, and I knew his style would suit what they wanted. And then I gave some direction to Ben. We sent them some samples, and now our names are in the end credits of this movie. And it's it's an absolutely awesome movie as well. So that kind of stuff, that's the icing on the cake.
Yeah, definitely. Now, this isn't on the questions, but I wanted to ask, after 14 years, do you still get excited when you get a box of comics?
I absolutely, really excited. Awesome. I'm really trying to get Retro 12 out by the end of 2024. I mean, we're halfway through November, so I don't know if it's going to happen. But all the artists are working really hard right now to get the art finished. I've still got to do all the lettering on it and try to run a Kickstarter, which in November, December is a bad time of year to run a Kickstarter. But I just want to get this comic out with a 2024 release date. So fingers crossed I will.
Fingers crossed for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you get a comic out, it's always so exciting and rewarding. I
was just wondering because I've only been doing it for a few years. So.
I'm still loving it, still enjoying it. And I still plan to keep doing it for a long time yet.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Awesome, cheers.
This has been Sizz from ComX talking with Darren Koziol from
Darkos.
Yes.
G'day, I'm Tony. I'm from Collectaco, which is at 462 Ipswich Road, Annerley. We're in the location that used to be Fats Comics, but funnily enough, it was originally Collectaco back in the 90s, which is where I began in this industry back in 1998. We provide comics, books, collectible stuff in general, toys, all of that stuff. We're also Halo certified location to drop off and pick up books to get graded. And so that's basically us. We're open 5 days a week, and everybody's welcome, so come on in.
How has the rise of digital platforms impacted the indie comic scene in Australia?
I think it's done a really great job. Things like Kickstarters and other crowdfunding platforms and stuff like that, it's just really, really opened it up. Where
Agreed.
In conjunction with comic book stores that still hold indie products. And people like yourselves who distribute them from your house. It's all good. I really like it. I think it's great to get an interest and an idea of for the public on how to get comics really quickly and easily. And how as a creator to get them to them.
And like overseas would be great for that as well, the whole giving them digital.
100%. Yes, I still haven't worked that one out yet, but I will.
I'll have to show you.
I've never done the overseas stuff.
Cool. What has been your favourite moment or achievement in your journey as a comic creator?
creating comics. I know that's a really, really simple one, but I started doing art for people like Stuart Cook, his great Dave Zombie Hunter series, and I've drawn stories for Darren Koziol's Killaroo series, also awesome, but both times I'm sort of going, as awesome as this is, I wonder what I'd do if I made my own comic. And I actually gave myself a slap-down challenge. What would that look like? And the end product was Death Ship Jenny.
And it's an awesome end product.
So it's really good to, I feel really proud to have written, drawn, coloured, and distributed my own comic.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's so awesome. And Lee says it's one of his favourite Australian indies. So there you go.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah. He said it on Chinwag the other day.
I'm honoured.
Yeah. It's like, no, I'm just joking. It's one of my favourite as well, to be honest. Can you share a memorable interaction with a fan that stood out to you?
Yes. This is a big one.
Okay.
And it may not necessarily mean I'm a fan of the comic, but way back in days gone past, I was a primary school teacher.
Oh, okay.
And I was at a Supanova table. I think it was it was the year before last.
Okay.
At Brisbane Supanova. And a guy came up and was looking at my stuff for ages and then walked away and then came back and went, "You're Rob O'Connor? You were a teacher, weren't you?" And I went, yes. "You taught me."
Oh, cool.
"And you're awesome. You were the teacher that showed me that I could be whatever I wanted to be."
Oh, that's awesome.
And all of this sort of stuff. And I could nerd out and come to things like Supernovas and enjoy comics and enjoy pop culture and stuff like that. And it floored me, I tell you.
Yeah, that'd be so awesome.
It was amazing. You always hear about those, you're that guy that inspired me, and you never think it's going to be you. But in this case it was. And
love the show.
I'll always remember it. Oh, thank you.
Sorry, I just noticed it. That's hilarious. Yeah, that'd be so cool. Someone saying that. Hope someone says that to me one day. I don't think so. I've never been a school teacher.
You inspire me, sis.
Oh, thank you.
No, you're awesome, man.
Well, that's the 3 questions.
Oh.
So this has been Rob O'Connor. I am Sizz from ComX, and this was the 3Q interview. Which Australian comic creators or artists have you inspired your work, and how?
I would say just, it doesn't really matter. Like, I get inspired from them there, anything and anyone, even like other artists or even like authors or other stuff, like, inspiration can be from anywhere, even just like watching a silly YouTube video or something. It's like, oh yeah, I might, gives you that kind of little idea or something, or but maybe a big main influence, I would say I'd have to give props to Ryan Vella. Because like
I was gonna be worried if you didn't say Ryan.
Because we actually lived in that same town, and like I got to meet him when I was applying for his band, even though I didn't get back at the time. It didn't matter. Like, we still kept in contact, and
cool.
We were just like, hey, we're both into comics, even though we had different schools. He was into the old school, like Marvel and DC. I was into the Japanese and Asian stuff back at the time, and other little kind of stuff. But we're still good friends to this day, and like our art kind of like inspires each other.
That's really cool. Yeah, cool. Okay. Question number 2. How has the rise of digital platforms impacted the indie comic scene in Australia?
Don't ask me. I can't stand freaking social media. Sorry, man, but I just find social media like it's a double-edged sword. It's like, you can promote it. It gives you that extra thing, but the thing is, like, it's caused like a lot of fights and a lot of turmoil, and like, I don't know if you paid attention to what's going on like in America and all that. Like, there's a heap of indie creators, like they're now been going at each other's throats, trying to like put them out of business, and I'm just like, like,
I didn't know that.
But it's just like, it's like, stop the shit, okay? Just like, I don't care like who said what or whatever, and just like trying to just like, shut the up and just friggin' do the work, and just like, you want to beat them or something, just beat them like.
Beat them with skill.
Beat them with skill, yeah.
Yeah.
None of this friggin', talking trash at each other and all that, because it's just a turn off.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
It just pisses me off. Just like, it's like, you could at least just like, if you don't like the creator, just don't interact with them.
Yep.
As the great Ben Dunn pretty much said, like, this is the guy that does that Untitled Press. I think the best word of advice was him just like, just do the work and keep your mouth shut.
Yeah.
Pretty much, you just let the art speak for itself. And it's like, yeah, I agree with that.
Yep. Good answer. I'd have to agree with social media. I only use it because I have to.
Yeah. I hate it, but I use it anyway.
Yeah, you use it because it's kind of like a necessity, unfortunately. What do you enjoy most about the creative process of making comics? That's a good question.
Yeah, that is a good question. Just because, like, it's hard to say, because, like, I don't know if I can answer that one, because I just go in there and I just do it.
Yeah.
I think it's just probably like, because I spend a lot of time on it, just like trying to make sure I do the best as I can. Yeah, hello. But yeah, just like, I guess it's probably at the end and I have a look at it and I'm just like, if that looks really cool, it's like, yeah, like, it's worth it.
Yep. That's a good answer. Well, that's all 3 questions. This is Sizz from ComX. I forgot where I was from for a second then. And this has been Shaun Craike and the 3Q interview. How do you balance creating comics with other aspects of your life, given challenges of making a living as a indie creator in Australia?
So I make sure that I live within my means.
Yep.
And I always am making sure that I am putting money aside. So my main day job is I work in the animation industry.
Oh, cool.
And I'm also been an arts student, and so I know when there's going to be gaps. So my advice is that you always be putting a bit of money aside, like you would be putting a bit of money aside for like your tax.
Yep.
And yeah, I think that's probably a big thing. Is like to look ahead, like and manage that way. Yeah. So
yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, I think that's an important factor. Yeah, because I think everyone always just thinks that there's always going to be work. There's always going to be something down the track. But what I've learned from the animation is there's always going to be gaps. So it's the same as doing your indie work, is that you should have you should be aware of the reality of life as well. So I think that's an important thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. Cool. So question 2. What are the unique challenges and rewards of self-publishing your comics?
Seeing my own artwork on the page.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Because for me, I've got a very visual mind, and so it just lives all up here, and I see it all. So when it's out on the page and people are actually purchasing it and investing in what you've taken out of your mind and put on the page, that's really rewarding in itself. People purchasing it, but just seeing it as on the page or digital, but for me I think it's on the page because it's now a reality and it's tangible.
Yeah, it makes a difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, like I think that people offer they offer the digital version, and I do have digital versions of books I've illustrated, and you do get lending rights from the electronic publishing, but I think actual seeing like a kid or someone walk away with holding it, that's good. You know that they've got it and they're going to hold it and they're going to sit and they're going to read it and then it can be passed on. So I think that for me is really rewarding.
Same. Same.
Yeah.
I love it when I love selling the physical ones because you see it happen.
Yeah, you see
not
it.
just a click.
Yeah, exactly. You don't see that click happen on the other side.
Yeah, exactly.
You just see it,
a number roll over.
In your email. yeah.
Exactly. Okay, third question. What do you enjoy most about the creative process of making comics?
So I think working stuff out is a challenge. I think, and it's an enjoyable challenge. And I'll just sidestep to AI. So generative AI is skipping that process of the, pulling the idea out of your head and working out how it works with the narrative and the words, and then drawing it is you thumbnail the panels, you work out the perspective, the compositional storytelling, angles, and then you're going to draw it and then you're going to ink it and you might make a mistake and you're going to fix it and then you get sick of that bit which you were enjoying and then you've got to put the fills down and then the fills get boring, so then you move on to the next bit, and even though those bits get boring, it's you starting that next bit is the next challenge and its next fun part. And so I think skipping all that is skipping an experience and the joy that you have gone through all these steps to then get a finished product. And I think if you just went from idea and then bam, sorry if that popped your mic, then it's there. That for me, that whole middle process is gone, and I think that's really enjoyable. Just that whole step by step, and you've got an achievement, and you've gone on a journey, and you're seeing the result and the reward at the end.
Yeah, totally
and I think if you are just doing it for yourself, and it's no one else, and you're just doing it for your own personal enjoyment, that is an achievement as well. It's when we were little kids, if we were making like craft stuff, it's the process. You're sitting there, you're planning, you're cutting out, you're gluing, all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
So hands-on, and that's what I think is important and what I enjoy about the process.
Yeah, totally agree. Agree. Thanks for that.
You're welcome.
Cool. This has been Sizz from ComX, and I've been speaking to Adele K, Thomas. And this has been the 3Q interview. How do you balance creating comics with other aspects of your life, given the challenges of making a living as an indie creator in Australia?
It's tough. I run a business and we're extremely busy at the moment. And I've got obviously the usual family stuff at home, two teenage girls that keep me running around.
Fun.
So, but I find that these things help because they give you a deadline of, November's coming up, right? And it's like, I've got to get stuff done.
Yep.
Otherwise I'm not going to have stuff to sell. So, and then when you actually start getting into it at night time, which is generally the only time we have, you find it does actually relax you and, is a bit of a stress relief. So I think, that's probably my way of balancing it. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to just draw all day, but, we all know that doesn't pay the bills.
Yeah, exactly.
So, that's probably, I think it works, but these things help. Having deadline, having these events really does help push things along a bit.
Interesting. Yeah, cool. Okay, what's your second one? Oh, okay, here we go. Ooh. How has the rise of digital platforms impacted the indie comic scene in Australia?
That's a hard one for me because I haven't actually published it yet. It's in the infancy of that, but.
Well, are you looking to do a Kickstarter? Because that's a digital platform.
Yeah, I think ultimately I will. Once I've got something to actually sort of put out there. I really loathe the situation of people that actually put stuff out there, get people's money, and it doesn't eventuate. I would want to have something done. But I think, like those platforms, like, they give people an opportunity, and it's the same with like music, right? Like, I used to be in a band, and like, back in the day, you had to have a record label, or like, and that was it. If you didn't have that, then forget it. Whereas now you can just record all your stuff at home, put it on, wherever the hell you want, So massively, it's a huge thing. You just got to learn how to, like anything, right? You got to learn how to use it to your advantage the best and avoid the pitfalls of it. So big thing, I would think.
Yeah, good answer. Yeah, I like that. Okay. Ooh. What are your thoughts on the current state of diversity and representation in indie comics?
In indie comics, it's probably all right.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I think most of us kind of, if you look at like guys like Rob O'Connor and guys like that, like their main characters are, people of colour or whatever, right? And there's a lot of diversity amongst the stuff that I've seen on, ComX and, the local stuff that's out there in the indie scene. And I guess, we're seeing it in the mainline stuff, right, with the big companies that are almost, jamming that stuff in there, and some people like that and some people don't, and I'll leave that up to everyone else. But I think in the indie stuff, it's well represented. I think personally, and I think the creators too, like the people you get, on the video stuff, like quite diverse in their own right. I love learning about the creators. I never thought, a guy from that background would end up being a comic, creator. So
it's crazy.
It's diversity. I think it's great.
Great.
Yeah.
Yep. Cool. Well, thank you for that.
Wow, I got through the three.
You got through the three. And this is
always a pleasure, Sid.
Yeah, always a pleasure. Brad's Pickersgill here with Shane from ComX, and this is our first guy who did the questions randomly. So this is the
up for the challenge. I'm throwing down the challenge to all you others out there.
So yes, this is a 3Q interview. Thank you very much. What are the unique challenges and rewards of self-publishing your comics?
Ooh, well, I mean, this is my first time doing this with a comic. So, but what I've found the past 3 days at least is that it's really nice to like meet people and talk about shared interests. It feels very genuine and whatnot. I guess maybe you probably wouldn't get that through a publisher. So
that's
it's
so
more human contact, and I really enjoy that aspect. I mean, this is about D&D, and everybody that comes over likes D&D, so I can chat with them about that.
Oh,
so,
nice.
Yeah.
That's always cool.
Yeah,
okay,
really enjoy it.
Cool. What is something you wish more people understood or appreciated about making comics?
Ooh. That one's a hard one to answer. I mean, I don't think I've met people that have, like, discredited the amount of effort that goes in. I think people are generally pretty appreciative and, you know.
Lucky then.
Yeah, well, maybe that's the case, yeah. But, I mean, everybody that I've talked to about it has been quite supportive, even if they're not interested in my comic necessarily. They're like, oh, you know, like, this must have taken a long time, or, you know,
okay,
really like
cool.
the art. And so, yeah, I've only found positives so far. So,
That's so cool. That's so cool.
Yeah.
What's the most valuable lesson you've learned about storytelling through working with comics?
Ooh. Well, I used to work as a storyboard artist.
Oh,
and
okay.
I found
that's quite a good transition.
Yeah, it was very, very fluid transition. But I think maybe learning a bit about, this is more like the technical aspect of moment-to-moment storytelling or you know, aspect to aspect. So you can take your time explaining something more to draw out the moment, or you can just straight up skip in ways that you couldn't really do in animation. So,
okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, maybe that's a more technical aspect of it, but
that's really
something
cool.
that I've noticed. So,
okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's your 3 questions, my friend.
No worries.
So this has been Sizz from ComX, and I've been talking to Alex Sturdee. I hope I got that right.
That's right. That's right.
Cool.
Yeah.
And this has been the 3Q interview.
Thank you.
Okay. Hi Phoebe. So we'll start with the first question. What do you enjoy most about the creative process of making comics?
The thing I enjoy most about making my comic or a comic is that I get to see the finished result, and I know that it looks good in myself, and what other people think is totally up to them, but it feels good because it's a self-achievement to myself.
Yeah, okay, cool.
And I hope others feel the same way. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. What is something you wish people understood or appreciated about making indie comics?
Probably the time and dedication of the story and elements of what you're trying to put forward, and understanding how long it takes.
Yeah.
And feeling very, happy that it has been a long process and stuff, but it's finally done.
Yeah.
And I think people should appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, because of late times and all those things, I think they should just appreciate that the time dedication. They're really trying their hardest to put it forward. Yeah.
I agree totally. Okay. And the last one is, what are the unique challenges and rewards of self-publishing your comics?
Challenges. Challenges is I found it very hard to find a printer.
Oh, okay.
I looked for, I think it was a year and a half before I come across one.
Oh, wow.
I first started in 2019 and printed it through Officeworks.
Yep.
And
that's very common, actually.
I looked for a printer and couldn't find anybody. And then one day at work, my friend said, you should try this printer. And it was on my birthday, so that was fun. And then I ended up just taking the time out of my day and going down to this printer and taking a regular size comic book, and I was like, hey, I've got 6 comics, I want to print them. Can you make it this dimension? And he totally was like, yes, but he could have said no, because he's a big publishing company for the hospital stickers, all the medicine stickers, the football signs and everything else. He does all this stuff. It's a big factory.
Yep.
And it's Crystal Media Print, if you're interested, if anyone out there is interested in it.
Oh yeah, you gave me that card. Yeah, I remember now.
But yeah, that was the difficult challenge. And what was the other question?
Rewards.
Rewards.
What's the reward?
The reward is coming out to events and seeing the smiles on people's faces when they look at the comic and appreciate it. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
No worries.
Awesome answers. Well, this is Sizz from ComX. I've been asking questions of Pheobi Nash, and this is our 3Q interview. First question.
Yep.
How has digital distribution impacted the way you create and market your comics?
It's been a bit mixed for me. So I mainly advertise my stuff on Instagram.
Yep.
But the reach, if you're not that great at the social media game in general, the reach isn't going to be great.
Yeah. Right? Agreed.
And I've also experimented with webtoons, and the reach on that it's not great. So I've been shifting my focus to more physical, in-person distribution.
Yep.
I find that connecting with people more is a far more effective way at marketing.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what I've shifted. So moving away from digital, trying to do more in-person stuff, since people who seem to want to get comics are more interested in the physical kind of connections that you have with people.
That's interesting. Yeah. Okay. Second question. What advice would you give an aspiring comic creator in Australia looking to break into the industry?
Start with 4 panels. make 4 panel pages and see what, like, just test out your writing, test out your art, and then just post it somewhere on social media. What you might find is that when you just have a quick short story that people can read in like 5 seconds, you can get an instant reaction for like instant litmus test for like how good your writing is, if people like your art, if they like your characters. So I'd say start with 4 panels and see what you can do with 4 panels only.
Nice. That's different than anything we've had before, so I like
really?
that.
Yeah,
that's really cool. Oh, here we go. What do you enjoy the most about the creative process of making comics?
Just the challenge. I think it's like you're creating problems for yourself, and then now you just got to figure out a way to solve them.
Okay, that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, so I mean that's just the way I think. Like you know, other people like to just like put their creative might onto like pen and paper and stuff. But definitely for me, it's like, you know, you consume media, and then sometimes you see like the same things, the same tropes over and over again. And you kind of think like, I wonder if there's other ways to solve these problems that these writers have given themselves. And I think that's where I find a lot of the fun of the creative process, just challenging myself. How far can I take an issue to where an audience will look at it and be like, how's the characters, and by extension the author, me, how are they going to solve this? And then the satisfaction is finding a unique solution that most people maybe won't think of up on the spot.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Okay, well, that's our 3 questions. So this has been Sizz from ComX, and I've been talking to
Daz Chiu. Yeah.
He knew I was going to stuff it up. And this has been the 3Q interview. What role do comics conventions play in your career as an indie creator, and how do you make the most of these events?
Okay, do you want the nerdy answer or the human answer?
We want both.
Yeah? Okay, so there's this concept of the cooperative world in which we kind of like contribute to what gets made. Like, you know, you look at a comic and there's a certain formula to it, right? You know, there's the blocks, or even if they want to break out of that, you know, you're still acknowledging that the blocks exist. There's no subterfuging that. So, you know, conventions act as like a cooperative world where people negotiate how things are done, what is done. You know, we are very much fighting AI at the moment, so this is a place where we have those conversations and enact that decision as a community. But also, like, it is an opportunity to see how people do things, what people like, you know, and network in ways where you can share information about how to print things affordably, like how to print things a little bit higher up, like if you want to experiment with like enamel pins or patches or that sort of thing, or you just want to go for like a larger print model, like a hardcover, for instance. The con is the place to have that conversation.
So is that both answers?
I believe so.
Okay, good. Just checking. I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure which was which.
Yeah, if I get off topic at all.
No, that's good. We love off topic. Okay. How has the rise of crowdfunding platforms like Kickstarter changed the landscape of indie comic creators?
You know, in the late noughties, when it started really kicking off with like, you know, before we had Kickstarter, we had like Indiegogo, that sort of thing. You know, it really created it created a space where people who didn't have the means to produce something larger suddenly had access to funds.
Agreed.
Like, we talk about what is the key to success, and the key to success is money. But not everyone has money. And we're not just talking about the money we have access to, but money that our friends have access to. When crowd sharing came into the market for us, it allowed us to have those relationships with money. Where it wasn't just our finances that we had access to. We suddenly had access to anyone who gave us permission to access their funds. And so we were suddenly able to start producing larger things and experiment with larger things and explore different avenues of publishing. And that was beautiful. It allowed so many people to develop different skills in writing, in illustrating, but also in print design.
Yep.
Look at social media, because now, it's important to their business. They are seeking an international market now that they have the means to.
Yes.
And that,
That's pretty cool, actually. You say it. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. That's something you didn't really have before.
No.
Yeah. And in some ways, I mourn those old days where everyone was producing a comic. We're at a convention where the largest selling item is probably going to be fan art. And that's lovely, it's great. Takes a lot of skill to produce that sort of thing.
Yep.
But it does leave a gap in people looking for an extended narrative in comics.
Yes.
So that is something I mourn from the days before. Now it is pitched at marketability. Now everyone has gotten to that level. Now that is the level playing field. So now how do you get above that?
How do you get above that, of course.
And that is producing content. And that's what we have. So many fabulous fan artists here.
Yep.
But when it comes to extended narratives, that's falling behind because there is such a need to keep up and stay competitive, stay marketable in that field.
All the time.
Yeah. And then on top of that, coming out of COVID, we have really seen a shift of, in the early days, they had the finished product, they needed money to print it.
Yep.
That's what it was, yeah. But now we're seeing a lot of Kickstarters where the concept has been finished.
Yeah.
But the work hasn't been done yet.
Yeah. That blows my mind a bit because I'm so used to the other way. Yeah.
Yeah, the last couple of Kickstarters I have supported, I'm only just seeing the rewards, and I'm not super concerned about the rewards, but I am concerned about the longevity of an artist who expects people to wait an exceeding amount of time. And we're not, we're not talking months in these cases. We're talking years. Last couple of Kickstarters that I've seen finalize and have finally produced the content that I promised to, I've waited 3 years.
Wow.
To see it finished.
That's crazy.
And it isn't finished to the standard that was promised in the beginning.
Oh.
And that's a concern for me. It's a concern for me when, I don't know, are we allowed to do specific examples?
I don't know, actually. No one's never asked that, so yeah.
Okay, well, Hunter Entertainment, here's to you. Took 3 years to finish your Kids on Bike 2nd edition, and you didn't do a wonderful job, did you? You promised us covers for our limited edition one-off zines, and you gave us printouts.
Oh.
Yeah.
Really?
Absolutely. And also, the book was released before we got our reward to the general public.
Oh, I've heard of that happening with some Kickstarters.
Yeah, it's happening a lot.
They find it in a shop before they get their Kickstarter.
You had a full shelf of the 2nd edition Kids on Bikes manual at Vault Games here, and it was reduced to clear before we got our rewards from this Kickstarter.
Oh, wow.
Their next Kickstarter had finished before we got our rewards for the 2nd edition manual. And, as someone who... I like the high tier. I want to do the high tier for these things. And I did high tier for this one. I spent just over $1,000.
Wow.
And $1,000 isn't a lot, but it is a large contribution from a single person out of 100. Yeah. So you really did expect to see, some loyalty to... Yeah. But, on the same time, Hunter Entertainment is internationally renowned. You've got, people like Abria Isengard who are pushing it, Dimension 20 were featuring Kids on Bike 2nd edition before we got our rewards. And so they had all this free advertising, they had all this merch. And now, if you've seen the price of the manual as well, it's $85. It's an A5 size book, a soft cover. It is very cheaply printed.
Oh.
And it's $85.
Oh.
And also, they made us wait 3 years for our rewards and didn't give them to us at the quality they promised. So it is a bit of a concern. We are seeing a lot of that I do miss the model where you had the finished product ready to print. We need some money to print it. Let's get that done. Let's run a Kickstarter. So I do miss that model. I don't like the whole, I've got a concept, will you help me finish it?
Yeah, well, a lot of them end up being nothing as well. So it's not that you get it 3 years late, you never get it at all.
I am still waiting for quite a few Kickstarters from 2019, 2020.
Wow.
Yeah. Jeffrey Thomas, back in 2005, I'm still waiting for you.
Oh, that's awesome. So is that your answer? Should I go to the next one?
That should be my answer.
That's a damn good answer.
Enough,
That's a damn good answer. Okay, what challenges and opportunities do you face as an indie comic creator in the Australian market?
Right. So I picked this question because I'm not on a model that enters the larger market, but it certainly works as a model for entering the larger market. It's an experiment.
Yep.
My title's an experiment. And it's just a little bit of fun. It's intentionally niche. It's not expected to be a huge, big deal to anyone, apart from me. What was the question again?
What challenges and opportunities do you face as an indie creator in the Australian market?
Right, okay. So I picked this one actually for reflecting on how other people...
Oh, okay.
You know, when it comes to that marketability, you know, when we're talking about producing content and things, it really does swamp folk down in a way that I would consider bad. I would consider it detrimental to their process and their ability to continue producing those extended narratives that we talked about before. You know, when everyone is so concerned with producing a piece of fan art, even if it is beautiful, even if it's amazing, even if you can really see how much talent there is into it, you know, how does that translate into the profession they're actually trying to move towards?
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know, knowing quite a few people here, I know that a lot of them want to go into animation, game development, a lot of them want to go into publishing comics, they want to go into mainstream publishing, mainstream comics, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But they're not producing the kind of content that is going to get them there because they are so concerned about, you know, meeting table costs and things. It is really about making some money at the cons, and that means producing more fan art, producing those little keyrings, producing little stickers and badges and that sort of thing, instead of moving on to those projects.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's taking up time, what you're saying. So all these other things they're doing is just chewing up time that could be spent doing learning and the craft of sequential art.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, they're not going to be moving on and getting those jobs that they're wanting because they don't have any finished projects. To prove that they can work in that space. You know, large game developers don't want to take a risk on someone who has no finished projects. You've got some cute drawings. That's amazing, and you know they could be fantastic, they could be beautiful, but can you create that same image 100 million times? With a slight difference. Can you do that? Can you finish a project if we set you to it? You know, show us that you can work towards a goal that is more than one image. And so marketability and accessibility in the marketplace kind of limits people's ability to move on to other projects, I think.
Cool. Good answers. Yes, that's all three. So this is Sizz from ComX and Wolfram Keesing. And we've just done the 3Q interview. Okay, so our first question is, what role do comic conventions play in your career as an indie creator, and how do you make the most of these events?
Just connecting with the community, really. Like, I always say that they're emotionally exhausting events, but they're really worthwhile because, especially being a sort of visibly trans person, people will come up and start telling me their stories, and you've just got to be 100% present with them. Because sometimes they're just telling me because they just want it said aloud. Sometimes they want to share it with somebody who might understand what they're going through, and it's just, it's great in that way of like, oh yeah, a younger version of me would have really gotten a lot out of this. It's like how The guy who wrote Fahrenheit 451 talks about how everyone writes with one particular audience member in mind, and he always wrote for his sister, and Stephen King writes for his wife. Like, I write for 13-year-old me. Like, try and just think, be the person that they didn't get to be, or nurture that person. Yeah.
Cool. Next question. What is the most surprising thing you've learned about yourself through the process of making comics?
I was actually writing a lot of Godslayers when I was still closeted, and it gave me a lot of, like, there's a transgender shield maiden, Sam, in that story, and it sort of gave me a bit of permission, I guess, to like go researching these things and understanding it, because at first people were saying, oh, it's going to be another, you know, cis man writing a trans woman, and then it went swapped to, oh, it's going to be another self-insert character, and I was like, yeah, she talks a bit like me, and she cusses a lot like I do, but I think we're pretty different, I think. We'll see. Just that growth you go through with the character sometimes, you know?
Yeah. Of course. Thanks. And how do you balance creating comics with other aspects of your life, given the challenges of making a living as an indie creator in Australia?
I like to think of myself as 4 side hustles in a trench coat. And that tends to work out pretty well. But it's also like, I love talking to other creators about like, hey, what weird thing did you get into when you started making money from comics? Like, did you get into cooking or gardening? It's usually one of those two.
Really?
And, yeah, okay. Because your brain needs play, and once comics becomes work, like, you're still creative, you're still expressing yourself, but there's, we need that like downtime time that comics used to fill, and as much as like it's still our creative outlet, it's like, well, we need something like low consequences but expressive. And yeah, I got really into gardening. And and you know, I've got this whole rivalry with the possum who eats my chilies.
That's awesome.
I will have them, yes. Or I'll just grow them a separate chili bush and be like, you eat that one, I'm eating this one, okay? But this is the line down the garden.
I like that.
Yeah.
Cool, well, thank you very much. This is Sizz from ComX, and I'll be speaking to Morrigan Moore, and this is the 3Q interview.
Hello, we are Preserver Haven doing comics. I'm Zoe.
So we provide bags, boards, all your comic storage. We provide premium products like polyester, also known as mylar, excellent boards, and at the comic conventions we sell the comics in that product. We're currently located at Beenleigh. We've got a not quite a shop front yet, but we're developing it. We also do a grading service, Australian based, so feel free to have a look at the website. The website is preserverhaven.com. Feel free to drop past.
Which Australian comic creators or artists have inspired your work, and how?
In terms of Aussies, probably guys like Glenn Lumsden. Back in, who else would there be? Yeah, definitely Glenn Lumsden. Even you know, creators like Jon Sommariva and David Yardin. The things they're doing these days are really great. Yeah. But when I was coming up, it was definitely like Glenn Lumsden doing Phantom 2099 back in the 90s. A lot of those guys in Adelaide, because I'm from Adelaide originally, so so they seeing them doing it internationally helped me to kind of believe that I could do it internationally myself.
Okay, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, what strategies have you found effective for distributing and promoting your work within Australia and internationally?
I would say, for me, because I guess I'm considered old school these days, going over to the US cons, like San Diego Comic Con and New York Comic Con, and meeting with the publishers and editors at the publishing houses over there, that was really effective for me getting the work. You know, these days, online, social media, that kind of thing. Getting into like even just last year. It was last year or the year before. I friended Digby Pearson, who's the founder of Earache Records over in the UK, and they put out some of the best extreme metal music in the 90s, and I've always been a big fan of that kind of music, and so I just started following him. He messaged me and said he loves, like everyone at Earache loves comics, they really love my work and they'd love to work with me on something. So I did their Christmas card. I've redrawn a bunch of their cover, like their classic metal cover albums in comic style, and they're coming out next year. So, social media's been awesome for that as well.
Yeah, that's really cool. Awesome. Okay, can you share a memorable interaction with a fan that stood out to you?
Well, actually, just about 5 minutes ago, I was talking to a young artist named James, and he came to this I think he said he was 13 when he first started coming, and he bought one of my Spider-Man prints, and we had a good chat. He would come with his whole family, and they were always like really enthusiastic about my art, and like they love to hear my story about how I got into doing comics. And so he's now studying animation at Griffith here in Brisbane. So I think he's 22, 23 now, and it's like it's just interactions like that, seeing someone who is like really young, then getting inspired, and now becoming artists.
That's really
themselves.
Cool.
Stories
awesome
like that.
Part of that.
Awesome.
Well, thanks for that. That's the 3 questions. This has been Sizz from ComX, and I've been talking to Wayne Nichols here, and this has been the. I always forget this part. This has been the 3Q interview. How do you define success for yourself as a comic creator?
Success is going through a whole project to the end, fully completed. That's success.
That's a good answer. No more? Okay. How has the rise of crowdfunding platforms like Kickstarter changed the landscape for indie comic creators?
Well, it's giving indie comic creators a platform to actually get the work out there and for other people to see it. When it first started, I was a bit reluctant of it actually taking off. But then I saw a lot of indies getting on there. Then I started seeing bigger companies jump on there, and I thought there's something to this. And then just afterwards, and then I jumped on there and started doing it, and that's where we got a lot of our fan base buying our comics and all that on Kickstarter there, and Indiegogo, and especially if you know them from somewhere else, it skyrockets some people. So
definitely. Cool. Thanks for that. And here we go. What one piece of advice you wish you had received when you first started making comics?
Piece of advice that, well, I would just tell you just got to come up with your story, make sure you sit down, got it all, get your team together, whether you're the artist or the storyteller and all that, get the right people. Make sure that they finish projects and they've got a track record, because you can hire someone and they can pull out halfway through a job, and then you're stuck. So I just say track record, make sure they've completed projects. That's the best advice I could give you, because like you put a lot of your money into it, and then if the artwork changes halfway through or the style is, it doesn't flow as good.
Doesn't flow as well, of course.
Yeah, so that's one thing. Just make sure people that you get working in your team, if you're not doing it all yourself, suss them out.
Good answer. Okay, well, this has been Sizz from ComX talking to Duncan Cunningham.
Duncan Cunningham from Killer Comics.
Oh yeah, nice. I like that one. And he has just done the 3Q interview.
The 3Q interview.
Oh, nice. And Reggie, if you're watching, did you hear what he said? Do your bloody job. There you go. I'll send that to him. How do you handle the business side of being an indie comic creator, such as marketing and financial management?
I turn it all over to Duncan. I just not involved with that aspect of the business.
Good answer.
He does turn it all over to me.
How do you define success for yourself as a comic creator?
For us, so far, our success has been people coming back and buying the next issue, and then the next issue after that.
That's good.
At this stage, it'd be nice if more people bought the first issue and came back and bought the second and the third. But that's the goal, isn't it?
Of course.
You get a lot of them out there, and they keep coming back. Repeat business is the goal, not just you sell it. You're not turn and burn.
Yeah, I like that. I don't think anyone said that for that question, so that's cool. Oh, upside down.
They're engaged in the story then.
Yeah. Well, I bought everything you've got, so I'm one of those people.
Exactly. Excellent.
How do you approach collaboration in your comic projects, and what makes for a successful creative partnership?
Well, for me, Duncan generally will give me a story of what he wants to do, and I sort of, I put a bit of me into it, and I keep him in it as well. Like, you can't just push your own narrative, you know what I mean? I tend to take it in a completely different direction to what he wants, but I still keep with the spirit of what he wants, like it's very easy in collaborations for it to fall apart just based on me wanting something that I wanted to do, and I've taken away from what they wanted. So you sort of got to talk about it first, and discuss it and have meetings. And when I say meeting, I mean sit down, have a cup of coffee, have a beer, have a chat. And just sort of understand what we both want. And our sense of humour is very similar, so it makes it a lot more easy.
So that's the third question, and this is where I go. This is Sizz from ComX, and I've forgotten your last name.
It's Aaron Cassidy from Killer Comics.
Cassidy. Oh, that's shocking.
It doesn't matter.
Aaron Cassidy, yeah, thanks for that.
No worries.
And this has been the 3Q interview.
So we're OzComix. We're based down in Sydney, southwest Sydney in Campbelltown. So we're a comic shop. We do CGC facilitation for customers there, so we're a CGC dealer, as well as comics, so we do new comics as well. Cool.
What is the most surprising thing you've learned about yourself through the process of making comics?
I have absolutely no patience, but that you have to learn it. You can rush art, but everyone will notice. So when I had to do it like full-time as a job, I realized I couldn't, I have ADHD, so I can't sit down already. But yeah, having the patience to sit down and just do a nice piece of work and make sure it's done to your satisfaction. And it just, it takes a lot of patience. And I thought I was a patient person, I realized I very much was not. So that was one of the first things. That'd probably be the main thing, actually.
Yep. I think that's probably what I'd find if I did art myself. I get very impatient with my ability to learn quick enough.
Yeah.
There
is that.
How do you balance creating comics with other aspects of your life, given the challenges of making a living as an indie creator in Australia?
That one's actually easy for me because I like distractions from work. So because my wife has a normal job, I'm the stay-at-home guy. So it is a juggle. I generally work at night and do stuff, house stuff during the day.
Yep.
But I like it. I like like I said, very ADHD brain. I'm all over the place. I pace a lot. So any excuse to go cook meals, do the school runs, do chores, all that stuff, I actually like doing. And then when everyone's in bed, I do my artwork, so it actually comes together pretty all right. I like doing the other stuff.
Oh, okay, cool. It's becoming quite the pattern, working at night.
Yes, definitely.
With some of the people we're talking to today. Okay, this is a good one. How do you define success for yourself as a comic creator?
Well, first of all, you have to support yourself, because you can love what you do as much as you like, but it's not going to work out, or it's going to be very frustrating if you can't support yourself. And if you can support yourself, you get to do it full time, which is also very fulfilling. So supporting yourself and being able to do it as a job is great, but just being happy with what you do is, for me, the most important, because I've been supporting myself for 10 years now doing it full time.
Yeah.
So that we thankfully did that one. Now it's just doing something that I'm happy with, because there's some people that, not to be critical, but like they do work that feels phoned in, or you look at it, it doesn't look like they spend a lot of time on it. Yeah, for me, success is just having every piece that I turn in just something that I really like, and I think I did the best I could at, and I'm happy with. Awesome. And artists are self-hating, so to get to that level takes a lot of time and patience. So if you can do that for most of your pieces, then you've definitely been successful. So that's what does it for me.
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Well, thanks for that.
Of course.
This has been Sizz from ComX, and I've been talking to Mike Krome, and this has been the 3Q interview. Thank you very much. What do you enjoy most about the creative process of making comics and art?
So making comics is not really what I do. I'm more of a cover artist, so I kind of get to jump in and out of the different paddle pools, so to speak. So I kind of enjoy that variety aspect of it. So I've also diversified from obviously chasing things like Ninja Turtles and Phantom and whatever, but I'm doing a few more Aussie indie creators.
Cool.
So I've done some Killaroo, Old Man Rufus. I've done. Oh, they haven't been released yet, but I've got something from Sky's Cavern Library and Southern Squadron and Dark Nebula. So,
okay.
So yeah, so it's been fun just kind of playing around the different playgrounds, so to speak. But each project will kind of demand something different. I might use Copics for a more kind of more depth, whereas I can play around with inks, ink wash. Mixed media, and just kind of experiment a little bit. So I think that's kind of been the most fun aspect of it, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Can you share a memorable interaction, with a fan that stood out to you?
It kind of happens on a daily basis. You never know what you're going to get with the show. So, I was chatting with an old friend and someone that collects, art, and they're kind of showing me some of their acquisitions, and along walks this like 10-foot mech from some manga. I don't know what it is, but the cosplay and the just the different fandoms that kind of collide at the shows. I think that's. And then we just kind of look at each other like, did that just happen? Like, it's just these cool little fleeting moments that you kind of share with people, and just generally geeking out. We all tend to love the same stuff. A lot of the people that come to the table are either like-minded or similar age, so we kind of all grew up in the same era. So we all kind of have the same affinity and love for the IPs like Turtles, Transformers, and Ghostbusters, and all the things that we kind of, the toys and cartoons that shaped our childhood.
Yeah. Totally understand. Totally understand. Cool. And the last one is, what role do comic conventions play in your career as an indie creator, and how do you make the most of these events?
I don't know if you've noticed how crazy this stand looks at the moment.
Awesome.
So, look, it serves two purposes. Obviously, as a freelancer, it's a lot of hustle and it's streams of income. So, when you're doing a cover, so specifically me, if I do a cover, I'll get paid by the publisher, I'll sell the original art, and obviously if I get either comps or I've agreed to a certain amount, I'll sell them at shows as well. So that's the background stuff. But the other thing is, it's creating can be a very solitary pursuit. You're in a studio for countless hours of a day. Look, sure, you see people online, and we do podcasts and things where you're talking to people through a screen, but there's nothing like interacting with someone, grabbing a meal, grabbing a drink. In my case, I have a lot of family around Australia, so I get to also catch up with.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so it's a social event as well as fiscally it adds to the kitty. Yeah. So. I never bank on it. It's never the thing that I make my income from, but it's definitely a portion of it that comes from that, and it just replenishes the cup. So sometimes you're creating and you get to feel a bit of burnout, and you come out here and you might see one of your fellow creators, and it kind of inspires you, going, oh wow, they're really kicking ass, or oh, better lift my game here, or and it's really cool to see. You've been seeing a lot of the upcomers. kind of step their game up. Like Lauren Marshall specifically, she's been doing a lot of stuff around the video game industry. She's had her first Turtles cover. She's back into the Phantom. Alex Tripp, same sort of deal. He's sort of moving into his own IP and stuff, and just obviously the deep bench of talent that Australia has. So,
Agreed.
And look, even Walking Artist Alley itself, that's the guests, even the people that come here and take a punt, selling their own wares, they'll come up and have a chat with me and asking advice, and I'm like, look, you're actually doing more than I am. You're actually creating a product. I'm doing covers for other people's IP. You're actually creating something, putting it into print and actually putting it out there, and that's the biggest thing that I think the community should take from that is just have a go.
Have a go. I like that.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, this has been Sizz from ComX. I've been speaking here with Jamie Johnson. This has been the 3Q interview. What advice would you give aspiring creators in Australia looking to break into the industry?
Aspiring creators from Australia looking to break into the industry. I'd probably say that having an online portfolio is definitely, if you're an artist especially, it's a good way of getting your work out there. Like when I first got in the industry, the internet wasn't as prevalent as it is now, and used to have to FedEx samples across overseas and catch the or physically go over to conventions over there and try and get an editor's attention to look at your work and get in the field. But now you can have an Instagram page or have your work online to some other platform, and editors are actively out there looking for talent, so they may stumble across your work online. But definitely being an Australian creator, I guess if you're trying to get into the industry, whether it's mainstream or as an indie, you have to also dedicate time to your craft, which can be hard if you're doing it sort of part-time. If you're working, you've got a job or you're studying and then you're just doing this as a side thing when you have time, it's very hard to find time to do it. And it's such a time-intensive job that we do. It's a lot of hours at the drawing board for me. Writers have it a little bit easier. They can write multiple titles each month, But basically, if you can, the more time you can put into the craft, the better you're going to be. The better product you're going to have. You're going to see your skill level increase. If you're just doing it every now and then, it's the same with anything. It doesn't even have anything. Whether it's artistic or not, if you're not dedicating time to improving your craft, you're not going to get better. You've got to put in the hours to become a professional. Because when I got in the industry, I studied for 2.5 months in the Philippines under Will Pistachio, who's an American artist.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he'd sort of semi-retired there, and he was helping a lot of the Filipino artists. And when I went there, I didn't know anyone, I wasn't studying, I wasn't working. All I did was for 2.5 months draw, and I saw my skill level just increase from one level to the other, and I knew I could get a job anywhere when I was finished with him. And that's not me being cocky. That was just the confidence he built in me from the hours that I put in into improving my craft, and I now saw my craft improve. So you've got to put the hours in, and then have a platform that we can show the world.
Which is a good thing now.
It's good. It's definitely shrunk the world, and it's made it smaller now. People, you don't have to spend thousands and thousands of dollars. It does help if you can go overseas and do a bit of physical FaceTime, but you can easily get feedback from other artists online and your peers as well, like people who are also trying to get in. They'll offer advice as well and make comments on your artwork too. So that always helps.
Awesome. Great answer. Thank you. Okay. What was the most valuable lesson you've learned about storytelling through your art?
So storytelling is the most important part of our job. Whether you're the cover artist, interior artist, pencil and inker, colorist, the writer, everything is about the story. So probably one of the most important things I learned is that every page there should be a focus, like one focus in the story. Every panel there should be a focus in every panel, and all the panels should be working towards giving the focus of the page.
Yep.
So you don't want to have like multiple things, leading the viewer's eye off the page, or if something's important's happening over here, there, you don't want them pointing over in that direction, things like that.
Of course.
Keep it simple, have one, everything focusing on that one focal point, whatever's the most important thing that you need to say in that panel, and the next panel, and then all those other panels need to work together to highlight the most important panel on the page.
Yep.
And so, that's one of the. That's a good kind of tool that you can use. Another one was, I'm trying to remember the name of the book. It's just gone out of my. But it's a filmmaking book, basically. It's just I've lost it.
It's right on your tip of your tongue, isn't it?
Yeah, and we were just discussing this in New York actually with my mentor. He was actually over there. But is it the 7 C's of cinematography or something like that, along those lines? But basically, it's good for framing panels and what works on screen, or just a lot of correlation between what works in film shots and what works in comics. So that's a good book. And Hollywood's, I think it's at 22 panels that always work. You'll see a little, something like that, 22 or 23 panels. But basically, he's done a rough drawing of each panel that will always work in a comic. So if you're stuck,
oh, okay.
Yeah,
cool.
You can do a little search in Google, and that'll pull up that Wollywood, and you can find a nice panel that'll work on your page.
That's pretty cool.
There you go.
Cool. Thanks for that. Okay. How does digital distribution impact the way you create and market your comics and art?
So I mainly work for the mainstream companies, the big US mainstream companies. But when I was working on Injustice, DC had just switched to releasing digital comics.
Oh, okay.
And we actually had to draw. So we would have a whole page that's 11 by 17. But the iPad was more half of the 11 by 17, so it was. Do you know what I mean? So it was like a 5.5, 11 by 17. Yeah, so it'd be 8.5 by 11 roughly, I think was the dimensions. And so we would be drawing a page, so that the comic would be printed digitally, and then every 2 or 4 issues they would collect into an actual comic.
Yep.
And release that. So those half chapters that we were doing were actually splitting the page in two. And then so we would work horizontally. We would have to make it work for the page.
Oh, okay.
But we would also have to make it work in those iPad dimensions.
Oh.
And so we couldn't have long panels down the side which were cut in half, basically. Everything important had to fit in those two segments and work as a page as well.
Well, that really changed things, didn't it?
Yeah, it was a bit challenging, but that's what the brief was, and that's what we had to work with. So the other thing is we had to have RGB files for color and CMYK files for print.
Yeah, of course.
Because RGB can have some colors which won't print properly. It was basically we were doing two versions of the comic, which was it wasn't like a great difference between them, but there were some tweaks that we had to do to make it fit in the different formats. It's the same as like when you got web pages, different browsers, and you got to make everyone sort of handles things slightly differently. So you got to approach it with a general sort of sense of design and make sure that it works on all platforms. So.
Totally
same thing with the digital and the analog. Yeah, well, there we go. So I'm talking your language now.
Talking my language now.
Yeah, so definitely with that, and I guess it's also it's a different sort of royalties that we get with digital as well. So that the industry's had to shift and work out how to make digital sales while trying to grow them, and then how that translates with the printed comic as well, and reimbursing the creators for the royalties and things.
Spotify, wouldn't it, where it's like how many times it's viewed? Or
and in the music industry, there's a lot of artists who complain that they're getting pennies on billions of streams, kind of thing, and it's there's, as creators, we want something that's fair, and obviously, but it's also a different slightly different market to physical comics.
Yep.
So the business has to be able to pay that amount as well. Do you know what I mean?
Of course.
So it's been a learning curve for both the publishers and the creators, and the indie creators as well, and having to navigate that. But digital offers a lot of advantages where you're not having a lot of overhead costs with printing and things and distribution and all of those things. You can get them on a digital platform, and it's pretty easily accessible. I do like reading comics on digital as well. You can zoom in, and the eyesight's starting to go as we get a little bit older, but yeah, got the old man goggles. But and also the richness of the colours and that, you got no reflections from the glossiness of the paper or anything like that, when you're reading, and it's portable. I don't have to carry 5 trade paperbacks with me on the plane, you got digital issues you can read.
Yeah,
so
one iPad.
Yeah, there's advantages and there's disadvantages, but yeah, there's been some slight changes that we've had to make in how we create, and how we approach it.
To need to change the way you lay out the page.
Yeah, that was a bit tricky, but yeah, we made it work, and the fans were happy, so it sold pretty well actually, that comic Injustice, so yeah.
Cool, man.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much.
No, thank you.
This is Sizz from ComX, and I'm talking to David Yardin, and he answered our 3 questions.
Wait, it's sticky up here, isn't it?
Is a bit, isn't it? Okay, John. What role do comic conventions play in your career as an indie creator? And how do you make the most of these events?
Yeah. So I think comic conventions actually play a huge role for us. It's a great way for us to interact with the people that are into our work, or fans. I hate saying that word sometimes, and I feel weird about it, but
they're fans.
People it's a time for us to meet face to face, because a lot of the time we're isolated, we're just working from our studios or our bedrooms.
Yeah, of course.
So you don't really get a gauge on who is actually looking at your work and who's relating to it or enjoying it. And that's just such a rewarding part of it, the process for me, especially, doing stuff that's a little bit more for kids, and we see that little spark of inspiration in their eyes. They come up and they're really excited about it. They want to talk about the story that you've been working on.
Yeah, of course.
A lot of times I feel like I disappoint them because I might not know too much about the character that they're super excited about, but for the most part, that doesn't happen that much. Another thing is traveling overseas, and doing the conventions in different cities and different places, and you just start to meet a whole bunch of new people that have never been exposed to your work before.
Of course.
So it's really important to get out there, show your work. Sometimes we hate this word exposure, but there is such a thing as doing it yourself, which means you got to get over there. You got to be in it to win it, basically, So.
Of course.
I've over the years I've noticed the benefit when I go to a place. I'll notice that my social media numbers from those particular cities, they start to go up.
Oh, okay.
You get more followers.
Cool to see the actual numbers. Yeah, that's good. That's good.
There's actual data and evidence now, to prove that it's a thing that works. So
that's awesome.
I highly recommend it to anybody that's wanting to get a project out there or wanting to spread the word. Try and get yourself a table at a show and see who's out there, see who's interested,
Yeah. And it make it more real as well, because you're sitting in that dark little corner doing your art. Going, do people love this? So I've got some numbers on my Instagram, but now you've got people swooning over you as they come up to your table.
Look, that's obviously a nice part of it. But really, for me, it's good also just to be able to have it's almost like a little holiday. You're taking a break from being stuck in the studio and all of that. I get to chat to my fellow artists as well, like my table mates, that sort of thing. We catch up after hours, we talk about the industry, things like that, give each other little tips. It's all part of building this networking, I guess is what they call it, in the real world.
Yep.
It's basically what we're doing. So, this is sort of like our version of work meetings and that sort of thing as well.
Nice work meetings.
Yeah, I guess so. With a bit of pizza and drinks to go with it, it doesn't hurt.
Oh, sounds like a normal work meeting.
I think so.
Cool. What has been your favourite moment or achievement in your journey as a comic creator?
So there are probably several different moments, I would say. Like I feel so lucky to do the job that I do. So I'm always very appreciative of the fact that I get to do this sort of work. And I think one of the most rewarding things and something that I always set out as a goal was that I wanted to create my own characters and see people actually become fans of those characters or really falling in love with something that you've created yourself. You know? So with the Neverlanders project, which I did with Tom Taylor, we had a book week, which is something that's huge in Australia every year. Anyone who's got kids knows about book week. Kids get dressed up as characters, and we actually saw kids getting dressed up as our characters, you know?
Oh, that's so awesome.
So these are the drawings that I've done that I just came up with something that I thought looked cool, and now people have gone out and actually created their costumes, you know?
That's wicked.
Very rewarding, to see that. And I've had kids come up and talk about Neverlanders with me, and they'll tell me, these are my ideas. If you do another book, this is what you should do with this character and that character. And I'm like,
that's awesome.
You might actually be hitting on some ideas that we're working on there, So it's very cool just to have that interaction and see that. Aside from that, just getting to work on a lot of characters and properties that I grew up on as a kid and I was a fan of, or am still a fan of, and getting to draw those professionally is just really exciting, and a lot of fun. Yeah, you've got to sort of pinch yourself every now and then and go, I still get to do this, and even at my age now, I've been doing this for a good 20 years now or plus, and I still get that little chill of excitement, when I get to draw a new character that I've always loved for the first time, that sort of thing, so it's very fun.
Yeah, it would be. How do you approach collaboration in your comic projects, and what makes them successful? What makes for a successful partnership?
Yeah. So obviously with comics, and especially the way that we create them here, the collaboration is very important because you're working together with a colorist. In my case, mostly I'm working with a colorist. I think the number one rule is always you got to be respectful of the other person's vision and that sort of thing as well. It's not just about you getting your way all the time, So with the best collaborations that I've had with colorists has always been, we'll have a little chat before the project begins, and I can tell them what I'm thinking, what are the influences, what are the things that I'm looking at, and usually we get on the same page with all that sort of stuff, and they, they're going to bring whatever they bring to the table. And I'll usually receive those pages and I have a good look over them, for a few days and let it marinate and all that sort of thing. And for the most part, I would say 95% of the time I love what I've been sent, and it'll be something where let's tweak this a little bit or that. And every now and then it's just like, for example, maybe a cape got coloured as a leg instead or something like that, and you need to go and change it, or an eyelid became an eyeball, I don't know, little things like that you tweak. But look, as in any partnership or relationship, respect is a big key topic of that.
Of course.
And you really just hopefully enjoy yourselves and have a good time doing it, and that's going to shine through in the artwork. Good communication. There you go.
Communication.
It's like being married. Same thing,
Cool. Well, thanks for that. Little awesome answers.
That's all right. No worries at all. Thank you.
And I'll do my little thing here.
Yeah.
This is Sizz from ComX talking to Jon Sommariva.
Hello.
And this is the 3Q interview. What advice would you give an aspiring comic creator in Australia looking to break into the industry?
So comics, the industry, I'm forever thankful that I'm working in it. For anybody that wanting to break into the industry, the best advice that I was always given and like to give other people is to stop trying to make it work so much and enjoy the work instead. So take the time, take the learning about the process, your skills, enhancing all of that, and enjoying doing the artwork if that's what you're doing, coming from an artist perspective.
Yep, of course.
Yeah, enjoying the artwork and enjoying the process, and I feel like everything else becomes a bit more organically after that and just naturally happens because your work elevates so much quicker, better. You understand the fundamentals more, and I feel that really worked for me. And I see it in other people. As soon as they start just like letting go and enjoying it a little bit more, then it kind of goes there naturally.
That makes sense. If you're enjoying yourself, you're going to put more effort in. You're going to
you frustrate
be
yourself
more
way too
inspired.
much.
Yeah.
So if you start overthinking everything and trying to just make it work for the sake of making it work, it's going to ruin it for you, and it's going to ruin the project or whatever that you're working on. So it also helps you realise parts that you can improve in, and it gets you excited. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay. Second question: how do you balance creating comics with your other aspects of your life, given the challenges of making a living as an indie creator in Australia?
Look, I think everyone's feeling the pinch at the moment in terms of just trying to survive in general. But I feel like if you want to make it work, you will. Going back, yes, enjoy the process, but if you need to get a second job, if you need to, I'm very grateful to have a very supportive husband who's going, he's supporting us in terms of that, and I get to work from home now.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I do all the freelance and stuff, and that sort of helps there. But then before that, it was all about me supporting him until he was in a position to be able to support me. So it's give and take and stuff like that. And then obviously, people become parents. They've got, children learning new things, and you're sidetracked with that. And then there's, other bits and pieces of work. Just always make sure that you don't lose sight of it. For me, becoming a new mum, I'm trying to do what I told them, stay-at-home mum, where I freelance from home. I give myself the grace to know that I can still put my thoughts and ideas down on paper. I'm not going to be able to do it all the time anymore. I hardly ever get to draw these days, but I make it work, and when I get a couple of spare moments here and there and people help out with babysitting and stuff, I try and prioritise it where I can. But it is all about just giving yourself a little bit of a step back, and if you need to focus on something else for a little while, it's just going to come back in better ways later on because you're going to be able to focus on it better. So yeah, it's all about juggling sometimes.
Yeah, it's a good answer, and that's one I just asked you. What is something you wish more people understood or appreciated about making comics? This is a good one.
Indie comics, it said.
Oh, indie comics, sorry.
Yeah, that's why I picked it, because indie comics are still comics, right?
Yep.
And a lot of people, and especially just comics in general, people pick it up and they go oh, there's really cool pictures in here. It's pretty, whatever. I don't think it's worth as much as people come and ask for a commission and whatever like that. But it's years of work, and like I said, you have to juggle all the aspects of your life. And then people get all this entertainment out of it, and indie comics are exactly the same. You're still putting in all the effort, the love, the passion, the collaboration, the background work, all that kind of stuff. So instead of saying indie comics, they're still comics. So all your IPs that you see today that are huge and have been created in the background, like the two guys doing Ninja Turtles, Kevin and Peter just sitting there and they made it work. That was an indie comic,
Yeah.
So thinking about it, it's just a comic, and if people saw how much work and effort went into the background, I think they would appreciate it a bit more and understand the value and the pricing that we're putting on everything.
So true.
So it's just a naivety thing.
Yeah.
And then if we just talk about it a bit more and then showcase our work more, people love seeing that on YouTube and stuff like that, seeing all the process from start to finish, it kind of gives it a bit more perspective in that aspect.
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, feel free to share that, especially if you're trying to get your comic off the ground. Showing the process, was people really like seeing that. It makes them feel like they're a bit more connected to it. They've got a relationship with the project itself because they've seen it happening as well.
I like that.
So yeah, I think that's a good thing. A lot of Kickstarters do that for the videos when they showcase the project, and then a lot of people do it on YouTube just because people just love seeing the fact that artists survive and how they survive and what they do, how they make money. It brings a relationship to the viewer. How you doing there? Yeah.
Excellent answer. Yeah, that's so true too. So true. Yeah. Okay, so that is Sizz here from ComX, and I've been speaking to Lauren Marshall for the 3Q interview. What do you enjoy most about the creative process of making comics?
I've always said that the best part about the creative process is having a blank page. Even if you're going to put words on it, you're going to draw on it, you're going to do a logo on it, a masthead for whatever comic you're working on. Having that process go from a blank page to something that wasn't there before, I think that's my favourite part.
Wow. The blank page is what scares a lot of people, actually, from what I hear.
Well,
so that's really interesting. That's your favourite part, yeah.
The blank page is...
Is it the turning the blank page into something?
Into something. The world's a better place for having that paper not be blank.
Yeah, not be blank. Yeah, I like that. Okay. What is something you wish more people understood or appreciated about making indie comics?
That's actually achievable. You know, even if you had a photocopier, you could still be making comics. You know, crude illustrations have actually worked in the past to actually start something.
Yeah.
Pencils, you know, pencil to paper. It's achievable. The digital platforms have actually made it cheaper to actually get your book out there. The marketing of it is where you might struggle.
Yeah.
But just to go from that, what I said, blank page to something, you know, it is achievable for everybody. The comics industry, especially the indie comics, is such a close-knit group that places like ComX, places like me, myself, I would be willing to help out anybody, even if it came from the simplest question to something more complex, something leveling out, like your foundation for a story. To all the way to lettering, all the way to who do I thank, you know, where do I get this, you know, who do I contact, you know, all of that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Agreed. Okay, and now we've got, how do you balance creating comics with your other aspects of your life, given the challenges of making a living as an indie creator in Australia?
The simple answer is I don't have a balance. It's something that's going to be on the side for a while, but the goal is to get that to be the main focus of a career. The way that you do it is really just by trying to make more hours in the day. You know, maybe instead of reading a comic, you write one. Maybe instead of watching a TV show, you write a script for a comic book. So trying to shave things off. You know, you can waste time rewatching a movie you've seen 100 times.
Exactly.
And all those hours do add up. You know, I'm not sure how many hours I've put into my comic. But but say I've watched that many movies that I've saved that time. So it is about sacrifice, sadly.
Agreed.
So it's just about making the time for it. And it's one of those tests where somebody says, I want to learn a new language. We go, do you though? Are you willing to sacrifice to get that done? Are you willing to actually sacrifice time to get a comic book out there? Then that's your answer. You'll know when it happens.
This is Sizz from ComX, and I have been talking to Aaron Sammut and about his comic making.
Maurice and the Metal.
Yes.
Thanks, Shaun.
Yeah, thank you. This has been Sizz with the 3Q interview.